Welcome to Yeshiva Daf. We're holding today in Menachos Daf Tzadik Ches. We'll be starting in. Let's start from Vikam Amabinunis, which is on the Tzeiches Amud Aleph. It's 7 lines from the top. It says the Gemara Vikam Amabinunis. We mentioned before that Amabinunis, that's the Amo that we were discussing throughout the previous daf, which is pretty clear that Amma Beinunis, what we're talking about, is the one's going to say right away, give it to me, Shisha Tvachim. That was what the Gemara said the whole time. And the Gemara said, Oma Beisim of Abin, of Anan Tanino, Ramei Oimer, Shulchan, Orkush Nemus over Shisha. We did that Shulchan was two Ammas by 1. Every Amma 6 Tvachim, so that's exactly, it was 12 by 6. That's what it was. So we know the Amma is 6 Tvachim. Says the more Michlal, the Amma, then if you should, Masra from here that there was a Amma more than 6 Tvachim. Because it says Beinunis. Beinunis means the middle one. So we spoke about the previous daf. There's a Amma of 5 Tvachim, and there's a Amma of 6 Tvachim. Is the Amma bigger than 6 Tvachim? Say more in, yes. There was a gate in Beis Hamikdash called Shushan Abir. The Gemara is going to refer to it in a moment. And it had on it 2 measurements of Amma. One in the northeast side. Is one on the southeast side. The one on the northeast side was larger than Moshe Rabbeinu's Amma by half a finger. That's bigger than Moshe, bigger than that one, another half of Etzba. It means it's Seir Shemoshe Etzba. So we have 2 Ammas, each one is a little bigger. One is a half a finger bigger, and the other one is a full finger more than Moshe Rabbeinu's. Why do you have larger ones? Which means when a craftsman made up that he's going to give 3 yards, 3 ammas of gold, he needs to the ammas he measures that he accepted on himself. What he said 3 ammas is this small ammas. I mean, he gets paid for the small ammas, but he actually delivers the large ammas. Why? Should not be meila. The big discussion here in the first. What is the meila here? He should not misuse. If he's going to do exact, maybe he's not giving hekdesh exactly. So he always gives hekdesh a little bit more. Why do we have 2 measurements? One is for silver and gold. For other ones for other building materials. So the gold and silver he gave a half a finger more because it's very expensive. The other materials he gives a full finger more. So you had ammas which are greater, and this was called tefach soichek. Tefach soichek means that you have a smiling one because it gets a little larger. Says in what Tiranosum, and now we mentioned that you had this gate where these ammas were, was called Shushan Abiro. Saying what Tiranosum Sha'amizuch, the eastern gate of the Beis Hamikdash, all of Shushan Abiro Tzuro. There was the shape of Shushan Abiro on the gate. My time. They should know where they came from. They came from Golos. They should always see Shvach HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where they came from. Rashi says, that's what the Pashup shot. But Rashi says to say thank you to the Malchus, to be grateful to the king of Persia who allowed them to go out. They should always remember the Persians and should never rebel. And the Torah goes on and says, should always have fear of the king. When Moshe Rabbeinu tells Paro that everybody's going to come and ask him to leave, he says, all your slaves. He never says himself. He didn't call the king himself. He respected the king. He didn't tell Paro. So Achov was a wicked king, was a Rasha, but Yonovi ran in front of him to give him kavod. So what do you see over here? You see that you have to give kavod l'malchus, and that's why they put on Beis Hamikdash the tzura of Shushan also. Now, there's a Yonim Amukim over here to understand that we had Beis Hamikdash Sheni was always with this idea that we remember that we have Shushan Abira on top of it. The more brings 2 explanations. More about that based on Shem the Shur Mashal. The Gemara brings another discussion. We just mentioned machlokes of Chizdo v'Yitzchak Avdimi. So Gemara brings, by the way, another thing that we saw them in Sanhedrin. It says va'aleyu l'trufa. So it says there will be a special river coming out of Beis Hamikdash that will have a special leaves that will grow in the river, and the leaves will be lahatir peh. It will be like a medical thing that will open the mouth. One is to open the mouth up there, which means the upper mouth. People that are mute, so they're able to talk. It means to the lower mouth, referring to akaras, people who don't have children. And the Gemara goes on to bring another itra, as Rashi says over here, just to explain a little bit more. The mute. Okay, so this is just, by the way, we mentioned machlekes. We'll go back to this machlekes. Now the Gemara goes back to our sugya. So the Gemara now is going to explain why the psuk have to be so specific. Because it says, 12 chalas. It says, the pasuk says, you make 2 rows, each one has 6 breads. So you have 12 breads, 2 rows, each 6. Why have to tell me all these details? The Gemara explains. So if it says, if you wouldn't say that each one is 6, I would say you can do any order you want in the 2 rows. So it says it could be 8 and 4, it could be 9 and 3, it could be, it doesn't have to be 6 and 6. That's why it says 6. If it says 2 and each one is 6, don't say it's told. I'll say maybe it means 3 rows, because it means shtayma rochos, that's 2 rows, and then a third one is shesha marechos, another third. Say it's 12 of 12. If it would say that it's 12 chalos or 2, if it would not say that it's 2 and 6, I could say maybe it's 3 rows, each one of 4. That's what you have to say everything. If you want to say all 3 things, 12 chalas, 2 rows, each one 6, you have to do 2 rows of 6. He's not yotze with 8 and 4. What happens? Oh, what happens? You have 7 chalas each. Just ignore the top one. Even though you have to have only 6 chalas in each, you just ignore the top. It says you have to put on top of the chalas the levaina. And if you put it, you have a southern one, you have a chatzitza. Rebbe goes to shitosoi, as we saw shita like this before. That Almar al b'samuch, al doesn't mean on top, it means next to. So you put on the chalos, the spice. Al b'samuch, al is next to, not on top. Maybe it means on top mamish. The paroiches is in front of the oren. The paroich is on top of the oren? No, it's in front of the oren. Have you al b'samuch? It means next to. Al can mean right next to. That's the right the Gemara brings over here. Interestingly, the Gemara brings before a different marker. It says Allah Mata Menashe. So it means the Mata Menashe is next to it. So there you bring from a different source. Why here different rayas? That's something to think about. But say so the 2 dots in the bottom say Yechezkel Dav. Says the Gemara called Keli Shel Mikdash. The Mishnah mentioned all the kelim in the Mikdash, the length is towards the length. So if I have the base of Mikdash, we should take out here the map of the base of Mikdash. Right? Fact. The map of the base of Mikdash. And everything is to the length. So referring to here, the Pashup Shat, is when you have the base of Mikdash goes to the length, you put the shulchan to the length, you put the menorah to the length, that's how you do it. So the Gemara goes out to get into the details of this. Says the Gemara. The length of the kli is facing the length of the base of Mikdash. Except the aron in the Kodesh Kodashim. It's not in the length, it's facing the width. Right? The aron is not going in the size of the base of Mikdash, it's turning around, you have the width to the left. That's what it was, and that's where the badim were there. The badim were the sticks that stick out from the aron. How do I know the aron was on its length? Because if you look at the badim on the sticks, the poles that hold the aron, they were showing that they were on the length. If I'm assuming, let's say this phone is the aron, the havdil, and you have the Gemara as the Beis Hamikdash, I put the aron, I'm putting it in front in this way. This is the end of the Beis Hamikdash, and it's facing this way. Why? Because the sides of the aron are going. They're on the sides of the aron. You have the badim. Through the badim, we know that the aron is facing in width to the length. How do we know? As we're going to say in a moment, because the badim were sticking out from the aron. So in the badim also, if this tissue box is the aron, and I have the badim over here, I think Moses is going to show me the badim was over here. So the bottom is sticking out. That means the width is connected to the length. That's what it is. So Gemara says, so the badim is this way. It says the badim were long. Could be in touch of parachis. You see them. There's a hole in the parachis and the badim stick out. So what is it? Says the one that says with base, it's sticking out of the pareches like breast of a woman. You're using the word shadayim, and this is brought down to say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is nursing Am Yisrael the whole time. That's the idea of the body aron sticking out. Now, by the way, this is a very, very important Rashi over here. Just to mention in short, Rashi asks, what do you mean? Which Beis Hamikdash we're talking about? Beis Hamikdash Rishon? Beis Hamikdash Sheni? Beis Hamikdash Rishon, there was a wall. There was an Amatraskin. Beis Hamikdash Sheni, there was no aron. The aron was underneath the Beis Hamikdash. So Rashi says your big chiddush, and this is going to get to many other things. The Beis Hamikdash Rishon, there was a wall, but in the wall was a door, and that door had a pareches, and the badim went to the pareches to the curtain which was in the door of the wall.
Are we learning badi to shakai? It's like because it's
no, the bad very simple. No, because it says no.
Badai and then dadai and then
no.
shakai.
I don't think maybe it doesn't say that. You have to get it. But the aron, maybe I hear that. Maybe that could be it's ben shaddai together as badai. The Gemara doesn't say that, but maybe okay. So when we now in the badal the future door in Abiyas, who says the badim are on the length of the aron, meaning that they're placed on the width of the aron, and that's what they are. Says the Gemara, maybe they're placed on the length of the aron. We know there were two Kohanim schlepping the aron, and they were standing. If this is the aron, they're standing one Kohen here, one Kohen here. So you have to have the badim over here, so they have room for them to stand. If it's over here, there's no room for Kohen to stay because it's only arm and a half. How do you know there was 4 Kohanim carrying it? Maybe it was only 2. Tray. There was 4. 2 in front, 2 in the back. So you have to have room for both. Okay, that's how we know that. Now the Gemara goes on to say something which is, we learned in Masechet Shkolim. It's a big chiddush. It's a big, for us to hear such a thing, we're like, whoa. So we know there was a menorah and there's a shulchan. Asara shulchanois asa Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo HaMelech added 10 more tables to the Beis Hamikdash. Shneimar ve'ashulchan is asara ve'nach be'echol chamisha yamin chamisha b'shmol. Put 5 on the right, 5 on the left. Says the Gemara, what does it mean 5 on the right, 5 on the left? Chamisha yamin haPesach chamisha b'shmol haPesach. When you go into Beis Hamikdash, you have 5 shulchanos on the right, 5 on the left. That can't be. We know that the Beis Hamikdash is divided north and south. And the shulchan has to be in the north. Can't be in the right of the door and left of the door. I mean, you have, and the Gemara is going to go on to do the exact details. You have 5 shulchanos to the right of the shulchan of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu's shulchan. So you put the bread. Yeah, we'll see it later about the breads. But you have a shulchan Moshe Rabbeinu. Shulchan Moshe Rabbeinu did in the middle. 5 to its right, 5 to its left. The Gemara goes on. Shlomo HaMelech also did 10 menorahs. Shema ve'asta menorahs azov, Esther kemish put the ve'echol. Chamish yamin, chamish b'shmol. 1 second. Chamish yamin haPesach, chamish b'shmol haPesach. What do we 5 on the right of the door? 5 on the left of the door. It can't be. Kemetzinu menorah b'tzofan matorah amor v'sem menorah nurcha shulchan. It says the menorah has to be in the south. Ela shel Moshe ben, so Moshe Rabbeinu is in the middle. Chabisha b'yaminu, chabisha b'smol.
So were there actually 10 shulchanas?
Yes.
And 10 menorahs in the base of Mikdash?
Yes. 10 menorahs, 10 shulchanas, in addition to the one of Moshe, total of 11.
Where?
Oh, so let's see. The one's gonna go. That's like
Because it wasn't in the actual
in the Eichel.
Eichel.
In the Eichel. Yeah, let's see. Let's say the one's going through the measurement. Says the Gemara, Tani Chado, the one brisa says, Mechatzi bais lefima yimunach. Not only that it was inside of Beis Hamikdash, it was the inner half. The Tani Chado mishlisha bais lefima yimunach. One says it was in the third. Like Kasha. So here you have to go back to the map. And in the map, you'll see that you have over here, you have the let me take out the blurry part because I see that this is impossible to see. Here the video.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
So you have, we'll have to go through it because the measurement is very important over here. If I have Beis Hamikdash, so in the Beis Hamikdash, I have the Kodesh HaKadoshim takes the last third. So if I measure the whole thing, the third is Kodesh HaKadoshim, and then I have 2/3 of the Heichel. 1/3 was empty, and 1/3 had everything inside it. If you measure only the Heichel, so you do half and half. So that's what it means. Either a half or a third, depends if you're counting the Kodesh HaKadoshim or not. Now let's see how the Gemara is going to go through the Cheshbonis. Says the Gemara, there's a sheet that says Mizuch Hamar. Mizuch Hamar means on the length of Beis Hamikdash. In the length, you went from the half and you put 10 menorahs. On the length, you put the 10 shulchanos. Says the Gemara,
up until the Braychas.
Out of Braychas, Divrei Rebbe. No, it's north to south, it's on the width. Well, the Gemara is going to do the Cheshbonis. My time of the Rebbe, go with menorah. My menorah Mizuch Hamarov, Avanina Mizuch Hamarov. The menorah is going from east to west. Menorah Guf Menorah. How do you know menorah is east to west? It says Ner Ma'aravi, the western menorah, is closer to the Kodesh Kedoshim. What Tais points out, it's not literally the western. Talk about the west of the first two. Okay, but it says west. That means it's east. If you're talking about the menorah, it's going from north to south. Nothing is towards the west. They're all in the same place. There's only one closer. If it's north to south, they're all in front of Hashem. We know the Orim just mentioned goes north to south. Why does he now learn from Oren? I'm going to learn from the Oren, which is inside Kodesh Kedoshim to the outside. Disagreed. So the menorah is not east to west towards the length, but it's to the width. Here, this pasuk is the wrong one, but it says that but we say Yad Ner Ma'aravi, the Mitzadad Lo Adzdudi. This is the picture you have here in Rashi, which is the wrong picture a little bit according to. It says the Tanya Mupnei Amor Yeshiva Saneros Milamet She Mitzadadim Pnei Klavei Ner Mitzoi. All the candles were facing the middle one. In other words, if you look at the picture in Rashi, one thing you see, the candles, what they did made the candles, all the one to the right went towards the middle, all the ones to the left went to the middle, and the middle one was towards Hashem. So even though they're all staying in the same place in terms of distance of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but they have a different way. Here the menorah is round. They say a question was round or straight. That's another discussion. So he says,
round curved.
Yeah, curved. You see that everybody's facing the middle. The middle is Meshubach. What's enough? Rashi says the Gabi, if I have 10 psukim in the Torah, so who gets the 4? The first or the last or the middle? It says the middle. Taisa says we're going 3 people walking. The middle one is always the most chashuv one. Okay, so now one goes to the cheshbon. What is the length that we said? What is the space where you have the menorahs and the shulchan? So we said it's all, you take the heichel. How big is the heichel? It's 40 amos. They said it's the inner half. So how many amos do you have? 20 amos. So I need to put in 20 shulchanos into 20 amos. Says the Gemara, I have 10 shulchanos. Every shulchan is 2 amos. 2 times 10, 20. So I do 20. Now Rashi already points out it's going to be very, very tight. You basically have a wall. But let's say it's okay. And I know it's over Midorim, but if you go from north to south, that's only 10 amas. Yud b'chav meaning we're talking about you have to have 10 menorah, 10 shulchanos, which are 20 amma each. If you go north to south, it's going to do the whole thing. And not only that, it's not going to be in that area of the two. If you, the whole Beis Hamikdash length is 20 amas, width, I mean. If you have to put the shulchanos, so you have a wall in the Beis Hamikdash, you can't pass it. The shulchan can't through. If you have to do 5 shulchanos to the south. If I have 10, where's the shulchan Moshe? So the time okay, 1 second. So you want to say it was the inner part of the Beis Hamikdash, which is 20 am. According to the 20, and then it's good. But if I put one next to each other, 10 amas going east to west, I don't have a place to the one of Moshe. No, it's 2 rows. Meaning they took you have 10 shulchanos, 5 and 5. Look at the picture by Rashi, the top of Tetzegez Amud Aleph. Rashi brings a picture, 5 and 5, and you want to have one in the middle, right? So okay, so now we're going to the opposite. If you go to the width, it's very good. You have 5 shulchanos, each shulchan is 2, that's 10 amas. 10 amas, you have Moshe Rabbeinu in the middle. You don't have enough space to have the shulchanos and to have Moshe Rabbeinu in the middle. Why? Because they need to have space to put the chalas into the shulchan. Right. So he says, we're going to learn it later. How much a shulchan has to be further away from the koisel in order to have room to put the chalas? And every shulchan, what's the width of the shulchan? 1 amma. So you have 2.5 to put the breads. The amma didei, amma of the first row of shulchanos. 2.5 in the middle. The amma of the one of Moshe Rabbeinu. 2.5 in the middle. The amma didei. Right, if you have 3, we want to basically say you have 3 rows. You have 5, Moshe Rabbeinu, 5. But if I have to have 2.5 amos in between, so it's 2.5 amos from the wall, 2.5 amos in between, another 2.5 amos between the next one. I need to have, so that's how much? That's 7.5. Plus 3 amos of the shulchan themselves, it's 10.5. You could go only till 10. So the Gemara, Misova shulchan the Moshe be'adayu aviyasi. You think it was 3 rows? 5, Moshe Rabbeinu 5? No, Lord, the midlei umanechlei umisasol lidu purto ketalnid hayoyshem lefnei rabbi. Meaning, look now of the next picture of Rashi in the middle of the Amud. You see how it was. It was 5, and Moshe Rabbeinu was in the top. So there wasn't. In other words, we don't need so much space. Right. We had 5 shulchanos that they took only 10 amas, 2.5 amas from the wall, 10 amas. Then 2.5 amas and 10 amas. And where was Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe Rabbeinu was in front. Why it says midley? Because the Beis Hamikdash was going on a slope. So they were more down, and you have it. So each one, you can imagine, you're going to Beis Hamikdash. To your right, when you go in, you can have like a U shape of shulchanos. 5 shulchanos, and Moshe Rabbeinu in front. And you have on the left a U shape of menorahs. 5 and 5, and 1 in front.
Now, with all these, with the 10 shulchanos, all of them were filled with the.
That's the next step.
Then with all of them were lit.
That's tomorrow's stuff. It's not going tomorrow's stuff. There is a problem, just to end today, there's a problem with the Rambam. Because one of the Gemara brings the 2 shittas if they were going on the length or the width. Rambam says that the shulchan, if I'm not mistaken, is the length and the menorah is the width. So why is he taking this and not that? That's the problem with the Rambam. So how does Rambam get to this thing? But this is in short the idea of how it was located. Kol tu Rabbi say, have a wonderful day.